Hey y'all, welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. I can't pull cards because I just painted my nails, but I thought I'd get on here and talk about some shit. You guys want to do a collective convo? I know I'm not wearing jewelry. I was in the sun today. Should we do,
I really wanted you to tell me about that kiss. I'm so sorry.
I'm watching Gilmore Girls.
I swear, I just got scared, and I know I'm not mad. I just wanted to hear about it.
Oh,
So,
we could do that.
no big deal.
Okay.
It's okay, I'm fine.
Let's talk about our nervous systems and how to stay in a space of balance, okay? The vagus nerve. Alright, I'm gonna read this. The vagus nerve.
Start at the beginning, and you leave anything out, you die.
Alright, the vagus nerve carries signals between your brain, heart, and digestive system. So when we talk a lot about, I'm getting that video about diving into the psyche that we did. Was that a collective combo? I think it was. But we talked about like, okay, so you've got your gut, your heart, and then your brain, okay? So when you get like a gut feeling, right, or when your heart starts like beating crazy, usually those two are involved in the same way. And then your brain is like, what do I need to be aware of, right? So the vagus nerve is when we are working with people who are in emotional crisis or in mental health. It's mostly emotional crisis or some sort of stress. Usually it's the vagus nerve imbalance, okay, or an over communication of the nerve. Now, all right, let's click here. I took this training with the Icarus project a really long time ago because I was doing street outreach for folks in mental health crisis. And it was about how to support people who are in that space. When I myself have been in an overactive or like emotional distress many times, psychosis as well. So I'm going to read this to you. I used to have a really cool poster. I might be able to draw it out. Hang on. Or I'll put links in the description box below if it's something that you want to look into further. We'll do that. Okay. The vagal nerves carry signals between your brain, heart, and digestive systems. They are a key part of your parasympathetic nervous system. Vagus, I was adding an N, vagus, wasn't I? Okay, vagus nerve damage can lead to I don't know this word, food not moving through your intestines. Okay, I don't care about that. What your parasympathetic system does is that's the system within you that puts you either in fight, flight, or fawn responses. So those are trauma responses to parasympathetic. Okay, here we go. All right, parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system, or PNS, is responsible for the body's rest and digest response, promoting relaxation and recovery. It's one of the two divisions of the automatic nervous system and opposes the sympathetic nervous systems, which triggers fight or flight responses. Okay, so all of that information travels through your body in the nervous or through the vagus nervous system. Okay, there is an image here. Look, I've never even taken biology, but I've taken emotional psychology in different ways. So that's why we're talking about it, because I think especially with what we're witnessing at such a large scale with war, several of them genocides, blatant bullshit, it's overwhelming. And people who have experienced trauma or emotional distress at some point in their life, which I believe is everyone in certain, varying degrees and capacities, but we've all experienced some sort of trauma. What that I think why this is an important thing is that sometimes when we are experiencing so much outside of us that we are not able to control, it can cause our bodies to have a visceral reaction as if we are experiencing it personally, and that can, catapult us into a a trauma response or an emotional distress or mental health issues or spiritual psychosis or regular psychosis, any of that. Okay, I think one of the main things that I would like to get across within this conversation is how the current medical model, especially here in the United States, but I know that the United States model has been duplicated all over the fucking world. But this current mental health model does not look at the root cause of people's emotional or mental or behavioral responses. It is meant to criminalize, dehumanize, medicalize, and then push people through this conveyor, keeping people, taking their power and agency away. Okay, I've been through this personally. I've worked with hundreds of people who have also been through this personally. The system that currently exists for mental health is an offshoot of the current system within everything else that fucking sucks. It's meant to criminalize, okay? All right, so let's talk about the parasympathetic nervous system. The functions that it entails: slow breathing and heart rate, lowers blood pressure, increases digestion, conserves energy, and regulates bodily functions like urination. So I'm thinking of IBS right now. I don't know if you suffer from that, or I think when people get like those butterflies in their stomach, sometimes you can get so nervous that you're like, oh my god, I need to take a shit, right? Like, that is the system that we're talking about, and that stems from, I mean, IBS, yes, it could have been something you ate, but it's also your nervous system being nervous about something. And that's causing your body to have a reaction, right? Or like when people pee when they're nervous or scared, right? I'm not talking about women who have given birth and cough, that's a different thing. But when you know what I mean, okay? All of that is within this system. And I think that's an important thing, because a lot of the times when we talk about this stuff, we talk about it in ways that it's not tangible. It's something that we can't really touch or see or feel. And I want to ensure that there are ways that we can. I want you to understand that, yes. So if you come across someone who is in a state of crisis emotionally or mentally, and you have the heart or capacity to hold space, one of the things that I remember doing when we did this training was how to approach someone who's in that space. And I think it's a lot easier for peers, people who have been there. We know what we would have wanted in that time. We know what would have made us feel better versus what we experienced. And this was a lot of my work in Los Angeles. We were working on different kinds of protocols with the county and city, because they had this smart team thing, but there were still police that responded with the social workers and with mental health folks. And the thing about that is, when someone is in psychosis or emotional distress, their fear is going to be rocketed by seeing a police officer, regardless of what you believe, because again, that's speaking to the criminalization of what I just said, right? This system, the medical or mental health system, is about criminalizing. While also, getting people addicted to drugs, right? So, when we did this training, the main thing that I remember being told was, if the person isn't already sitting down, to try and get them to sit down, to lower them and lower yourself, because that avoids bodily harm if they were to fall over or try to run or whatever. I'm not talking about working with police. I'm just saying that's something that we worked on in LA. They still continue to show up with police because it's LA. They're going to do that. They get more funding. The county, it's there's lots of levels to it, okay? But one of the things if you have the capacity to respond to someone or to de-escalate a situation in this, or if you or someone in your family or close proximity to you or relationship with you goes through this, this is what we were told. Get them low and then sit with them. You want to be at level with the person, but you want that to be low, like sitting down. Preferably on the ground. Again, because people are in distress, things can become weapons if they are in that fight or flight. If they're in a fight response, if you have a chair, that chair could be used to hit. I've seen this happen many times. Okay? So, skateboard, whatever it is. So try to, I don't want to say like criminalize them and think like, oh my God, I'm going to become a victim of violence. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, if you can find a common space to sit together, do so. Number one. You don't want to be above them, like they're sitting and you're talking above them. That's not good. You want to put yourself at a physical, balanced level with them. Okay? Second of all, offer water. Allow them to have space. Just hear them out. Don't do anything. A lot of the times when police respond to these situations, in my case, things that I've personally experienced, is that they meet you with very condescending tone. They meet you with all of this municipality bullshit, like, oh, you did this and this and this, but it's very condescending. That's just how police are. If people even get the benefit to have a conversation with police often respond by just killing the person, right? We know this. That's why we were working with them to be like, let's not have the police respond, okay? Why can't we as a community show up, and if we need backup, we'll call you, but otherwise we'd like to just handle this. And they were like, no, you can't do that, but we can, because we're making these systems obsolete, okay? So anyway, after you offer them water, if you have a snack, because a lot of the times, because we're learning that it is the blood pressure, well, it's not the blood pressure, but it is the nervous system, a lot of the times blood pressure can be a part of that. Was blood pressure? Yes, lowers blood pressure. So if you have an elevated emotional state, by giving food or something, it kind of can support the body to calm down, okay? And this doesn't really have to do with diabetic, but I feel like there's a common thing there, because I know that they need a certain amount of sugar to keep their cells going as well. This Google says activities that can activate the PNS. So the point is, so factors that can impact first. So things that can make people get into a space of fight, flight, or fawn. Is anxious thoughts, workload, sleep deprivation, food sensitivities, or trauma. So a lot of the times people are experiencing a reliving of a moment, and that's another reason why we're like, police don't need to be in response to this, because we don't know what the trauma was, the root cause, right? And that's the whole thing with this system, is the system doesn't look at the root cause or the person. Trauma-informed care is a thing, but it's not the norm. It's not the status quo. Okay? So activities that can activate the parasympathetic nervous system is deep breathing, spending time in nature, meditation, massage, yoga, tai chi, or playing with animals and children. Again, if someone's in a space of fight or flight, you don't want to necessarily give them animals or children, because again, there could be some sort of violence. Again, I'm not saying that's always going to happen, but it's a good thing to keep everyone safe in a situation. As far as massage, that was something that we were told, but that's not the first thing you should do. You should never touch anyone in distress, emotional or mental distress. You should never touch them, not without their consent, and not without building a solid foundation of trust initially, which is why we get down, okay? Because when we get down, there's less threat. We feel safe, okay? And that's why we sit with them. We are on the same level, okay? And then we offer food or water first, okay? A lot of things can be solved with water, honestly. And then, like a granola bar or something was something that we kept on us. Again, you want to be careful of allergies, okay? And then, just as you're building that trust and getting that person to de-escalate and have them calm into a space of calm, that's another thing, is like the police always escalate, okay? Especially in mental health crises or emotional crises responses. So when we're working at a human community level to de-escalate an emotional crisis, um, we want to be as human led as possible. We want to befriend this person and build that trust. We don't want to do it just to achieve a goal of handing them over to the police. The goal is to get you out of this space, because again, our emotions, oh, you can't see it. Our emotions flow like water, right? Like we are the pirate ship and the water is our emotions. They come and they go. And so when someone is in distress, it's not a state of being for constant, it's a state of needing compassion and space held, and understanding, and of building trust. Now, if you are working with someone who is paranoid, not necessarily schizophrenic, but paranoid, and they literally are like, they do not trust you, one of the important things when we are de-escalating a situation is to not take shit personally, first and foremost, and also to recognize that they don't have to trust you, okay? The point is to hold space. Like you are holding this container for this person to be, however they are, whatever state they're in. Allow them to get through it with you there to support it, making sure that no one else is coming through to either escalate it further, demand something of this person, but we allow that space. It's very simple. Now, not in all cases, but in some cases, there's nothing else further needed. Some people just have them, right? Like toddlers have tantrums. Adults do too, because we have unhealed wounds. So sometimes there's just some things that make us feel fucking crazy and we have a moment. But it can just be a moment. It doesn't need to be a lifelong sentence or a lifelong diagnosis or a lifelong fucking treatment. And that was my experience. Was I had all of these people who I thought I trusted and were supposed to care for me betray me, like all together, right? Like I'm thinking of Wizard of Oz right now, like like so from that point, my trust for anyone was out the window, right? And I'm still working on healing that, because it's a very rough thing. So again, we meet people where they're at, okay? We get on the level. We remove anything that could be used for violence, because people can be very unpredictable in these moments. Because as our feelings are flowing, as our nervous system is communicating with our body, yeah, shit might be flailing, right? But again, it's usually momentary, not in every case. And a lot of this can be caused, and if you've ever been around people who use drugs or, streetwise or pharmaceuticals or whatever, anything that you use chemically to alter your brain chemistry will affect your nervous system. And that's why when I told you guys about going off of my psychotropics, I was like, dude, you can't just do that. You have to like look out for what are some of the things you could be experiencing, because you will have withdrawal symptoms, symptoms from stopping something, right? Sometimes cold turkey is the way to go, sometimes it's not. It can be really, really dangerous. People who use opioids or heroin know that. That's why there's methadone clinics, because what they do is they offer an alternative to give the body that feeling of the harder drugs, but it's like a weaning process. Same thing with pharmaceuticals. You have to wean yourself off of that. So again, if someone wasn't able to get a refill on something, emotional crisis can be caused by anything. It could be a physical response to not having a refill. It could be, an emotional distress or a mental distress, or like a trauma reoccurrence or memory, right? There's lots of different reasons, or a drug withdrawal as well. There's lots of different reasons why people go through this. But the main thing is to understand how to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the vagus nerve. And sometimes if you've built enough trust with someone, ask for consent before touching them. Again, you don't know what trauma this person has had, and if they have consented, maybe start with the hands, or like a safe place like the forearm, or maybe even the shoulder. Other than that, do not touch them. Don't. They don't need to be touched unless they ask for a hug or something like that, and you feel comfortable hugging them. I would really recommend doing that. If someone is in an emotional distress and you've provided enough trust and space for them to get out of that moment, and this could take anywhere from like 2-3 minutes to an hour and a half longer. It's a process, and that's the thing. It's like whatever the person's dealing with, you don't need to know that, but as you're building that, and that's why I said if you have the capacity. But a lot of people are just going to call the cops, and that's not the way to go. And also recognize what this is within your body, in yourself, right? When we were in LA, when I was doing the mental health group, I was training the other folks on this stuff, and we practiced a lot, and there are a lot of people who you do want to support and help, and they're not receptive, and that is okay too. You don't have to force support on anyone. You can be like, okay, I know that I offered it and they didn't want it. That's fine. You don't force that on anyone. When we were in Skid Row, there were a lot of cases that the police would just kill. One of them in particular was Africa. He was in his tent and he was having, he was being loud. He's a black man and he was being loud. Where was he from? I think he was from Cameroon. And the police came and shot him and killed him. And that's why we were pushing for this. I mean, Skid Row is still there, and the organization I was working with was still there, and I'm not, I don't know if they've gone forward. They still have Community Watch. But we were doing these trainings, and we were working at being responses, and I was working with a think tank of folks, and we did all of this. We were really practicing on what it meant to respond as a safe community, right? But I think I'm going to end it there. Everything is dying. I need to charge my shit. That's Mercury retrograde for you. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I hope this was helpful. I'll put a couple links in the description box below. I don't know if the Icarus Project, or it's now known as the Fireweed Collective, let me see if they have I wonder if they recorded the training. If they did, I will put that in here too. Hang on, let me see. Oh, Crisis Toolkit. Yeah, they have shit here. Oh, good. Okay, let's look at what the Crisis Toolkit looks like. This is an amazing website. I'll put it, there's Madness and Oppression. Their graphics are gorgeous. Paths to Personal Transformation and Collective Liberation. A Mad Maps Guide to the Icarus Project. Where was the crisis stuff? 2025 support groups. I don't know, maybe I haven't been involved in this space in a long time. Crisis Toolkit, Navigating Crisis, Online Peer Support, Crisis as an Opportunity for Growth and Change, Mapping Our Madness, a workbook for navigating crisis, extreme states, and just foul moods. So all of this shit is, I think, free. Crisis planning, documents for wellness, recovery, and action plan. If you are someone who has a tendency to swing into times of mania or psychosis or even depression, really deep depression, these are things, suicide stuff, when it all comes crashing down, sometimes wanting to kill yourself, alternatives to suicide, video on suicide, living with suicidal thoughts, hotlines and warm lines. Be careful with those. The Icarus Project, but just be careful because a lot of those will call the police on you. So if that's not what you're seeking, don't do that. You can always email me. I'm always available. I sleep, but I will get back to you within 12 hours. Probably sooner. I just don't want anyone's life on my hands for that. So 12 hours, I will be in touch with you. Psychiatric drugs, harm reduction to coming off of psychiatric drugs. That's what I use to go off of my stuff. Psychosis and hearing voices. Again, if someone is paranoid, really give them a lot of space. And I think another important, a very important part of this training is that whoever you're working with will more than likely call you a fuck ton of inappropriate shit, hate on you while you're trying to, and the most important thing is to not get activated in that fight or flight yourself and be like, fuck you, bitch. Not the way to go. Allow them, you're there, but when they're not there physically or mentally or emotionally, they're back in, as a 5-year-old kid talking to their stepfather, or as whatever, okay, whatever the situation that they're reoccurring or whatever is resurfacing for them in that moment, you are the scapegoat. You are going to be the person that they are going to look at and call a fucking asshole and a fucking bitch, and you are going to respond with compassion. And just let them do that. I can't believe that's so important. I have been cussed out so many times. Just allow it. Just be like, okay, because that's what they need. They need to do that, and they need to feel safe doing so, which is another reason why if you were to do that to the police are going to, again, escalate. They're already going to escalate or blatantly kill you. But then if you start shit talking to a police, well, let me just get all these municipality codes for you and you're going away forever, right? That's not the vibe. The vibe is to give this person enough space to heal through what they're feeling, simply, okay? And if they are provided that space initially in this moment that we're all experiencing or witnessing as we've responded or witnessed it, the compassion, I think one of the main things, well, let me finish that thought. If they are given that in the future, their responses are going to be much less. They're going to be able to make it through it. And then another thing is music. Ask them what their kind of favorite music is, or if there's a favorite song, because music is also a transporter back to certain moments. So I remember when I kept getting people kept fucking me over, I put a whole document together about what to actually do in case this ever happens again. Literally give me fucking music, give me a room with a bed, and let me just fucking work through it. Let me just be for a fucking minute. Nobody needs to intervene. I'm telling you, and I even made playlists. Give me this playlist, or it was on my computer, cycling playlist. If I'm ever getting manic again, let me listen to this music and it will ground me. So there's lots of different ways. I will put the Fireweed Collective website in the description box below. And yeah, everything you need is there. And if you want to continue, if you want to go doing these, are you popping all the balloons? I was like, what is that sound? We have these tiny little balloons. I bought this party kit. And there's these tiny balloons. They're really cute. That's what he's doing. He's popping all of them. But Nala likes to pop balloons, so it's all good. Alright, let me download this quick. So navigating crisis. So if you are looking to do this or initiate something like this in your community or whatever your community is, it could be your school. What? Oh, God, I hate that man so much. Okay, alright. Too often we don't get help or identify problems until we've reached a total breaking point. So, all of these documents, if this is something that you want to do, Icarus Project does share these resources for free. They do ask for donations, or there's a sliding scale for doing or attending workshops as well. And I think they do have, I don't know, it's great. It's really, it doesn't get better than this in regards to radical mental health or, mad pride or mind freedom. So, all right, that's it for today. I hope you feel more confident. People don't need to be in total crisis. This could just be... this could just be the way you start interacting with others as well. Just more compassionately. Don't take shit so personally, and allow people to feel how they feel. All right. All right. I'm gonna let you go. Let me get this copied. Share. Okay. All right. Have a good one.